Welcome to the Silicon Fox podcast, where we explore the habits and stories of high performers. Join us as we dive into their journeys, analyze live blood tests, and break down the science behind key biomarkers to help you optimize your health. I'm your host, Mitchell Eschner, an ex-pro soccer player, a current sponsored hybrid athlete, a health tech founder, and a longevity enthusiast. Today, we're exploring if testosterone and startup success have a correlation. We all know that ideating, starting, and running a business, especially a startup, takes a load of guts, charisma, and grit. So it's fair to ask, what's the correlation between the hormone in your body associated with intensity, strength, and power, and the career that arguably asks for it the most? But this question isn't just some locker room curiosity. It's about whether our biology actually plays an active role in the biggest business outcomes of our lives. And with this study specifically, the focus was not in the abstract hustle culture sense, but in the measurable, chemical reality of hormones, stress, and the founder's body. A team at SiPhox Health decided to put some data behind this. They ran a study with Y Combinator founders looking at not at vague self-reports, but at an actual blood biomarker. And they found that testosterone levels in male founders rise through early funding rounds, peak at Series B, and then drop sharply, right when cortisol, the body's main stress hormone, surges. It's the kind of finding that makes you sit up, or at least order a blood panel before your next board meeting. So let's get into it. SiPhox Health specializes in at-home blood testing. For this project, they recruited 107 male Y Combinator founders at a reunion event. Each participant got a finger prick test, just a few drops of blood, analyzed in a CLIA/CAP certified lab. These tests measured a suite of biomarkers, but the stars of the study were testosterone, cortisol, and DHEAS. These particular markers were chosen for a reason. Testosterone is linked to dominance, risk-taking, motivation, and physical energy. Cortisol is a stress hormone, essential in bursts, but when it's chronically elevated, it can sap energy, impair decision-making, and suppress testosterone production. DHEAS acts as a precursor to testosterone, offering context for whether changes in T might be driven by supply issues or by other factors. Once they had the biomarker data, the researchers grouped participants by their company's funding stage. This meant placing founders into categories like pre-seed, seed, Series A, Series B, late-stage VC, acquired, or shut down. That information didn't come from the founders themselves, but from a careful cross-referencing of LinkedIn, Crunchbase, PitchBook, and RocketReach profiles. Testosterone naturally declines with age, which can make comparisons tricky. Without adjusting for this, you'd end up comparing the biology of a 25-year-old pre-seed founder to that of a 45-year-old Series B CEO, and the differences might have nothing to do with the startup at all. To solve this, researchers age normalized the data. They started with massive reference dataset of over 5,000 anonymized results, dividing it into 5-year age groups. With each group, they calculated the average and standard deviation for every biomarker. Each founder's test result was then transformed into a standardized score based on his age group, which allowed for fair comparisons across the board. Finally, they mapped these standardized scores back to biomarker values, so the results could be interpreted in the real-world units. The process meant that 42-year-old founder whose testosterone levels matched those of a man in his late 20s would stand out in the data, rather than being lost in an age-skewed comparison. The findings painted a clear picture. On the screen right now is a chart of the findings of the testosterone hormone. At the pre-seed stage, median testosterone was 2.21 nanograms per milliliter, below the healthy reference age for men. By the seed stage, the number jumped to 3.44 nanograms per milliliter, a statistically significant increase of 55.7%. Series A brought a smaller bump to 3.65 nanograms per milliliter, which represented a 6.1% gain from the seed stage, but was not statistically significant. Series B is where things got interesting. Testosterone reached a peak of 4.41 nanograms per milliliter, which finally landed within the optimal range for men. That was a 20.8% increase from Series A, but this trend didn't last. By late-stage VC, testosterone levels crashed to 2.55 nanograms per milliliter, a steep 42.2% drop from Series B peak. Cortisol levels told almost an inverse story. As seen on the chart, they remained relatively stable in the early stages, dipped slightly at Series B, and then spiked by nearly 40% at late-stage VC, precisely when testosterone levels plummeted. DHEAS remained more stable throughout and didn't mirror testosterone curve exactly, suggesting that late-stage testosterone drop wasn't simply due to a shortage of raw hormonal material. One way to interpret the data shifts is through the dual hormone hypothesis. This concept suggests that testosterone's influence on confidence, dominance, and risk-taking is most powerful when cortisol is low. When testosterone is high and cortisol is low, leaders tend to be bold, decisive, and magnetic. When both hormones are high, cortisol stress effects can blunt the behavioral advantages of testosterone. In early-stage startups, pre-seed through Series A, testosterone is rising, and cortisol remains relatively contained. Founders are stressed, yet the pressure is often balanced by excitement, novelty, and momentum. At Series B, testosterone peaks and cortisol dips, potentially creating a sweet spot for founder physiology. The business has traction, the team has resources, and the founder may feel more capable and in control. Late-stage VC often flips that equation. Investor pressure, market scrutiny, and the complexity of scaling all intensify. Chronic stress sets in, cortisol surges, and testosterone falls. This hormonal shift can affect not just mood, but also energy, risk tolerance, and decision-making capacity. While the patterns are compelling, the data comes with limitations. The sample sizes for Series B and late-stage VC were extremely small, just 2 and 3 founders respectively. The study was not longitudinal, so it's unclear whether the same individual's hormones change as they move through funding rounds, or whether founders with naturally high testosterone are more likely to advance. And the study included only male participants, leaving open questions about whether female founders follow a similar or entirely different pattern. The authors themselves caution against drawing sweeping conclusions. They recommend follow-up research with larger, more diverse samples tracked over time. They even suggested exploring whether interventions to maintain healthy testosterone levels could influence business outcomes. Even with the caveats, one conclusion is hard to ignore. Running a startup is physiologically demanding. Your biology is not a passive passenger in your entrepreneurial journey. It's more of like a part of the engine. When your hormones are in a favorable balance, high testosterone and low cortisol, you may feel more energized, confident, and socially adept. When that balance tips in the other direction, low testosterone and high cortisol, you may feel flat, unmotivated, and less resilient under pressure. Recognizing that your internal chemistry changes with your external circumstances is the first step towards managing it. Founders would do well to think like professional athletes. Sleep is the foundation, not just the number of hours you get, but the quality of sleep, including the amount of deep and REM sleep and the stability of your heart rate variability. Consistent strength training is another pillar, as resistance exercise can help support testosterone levels and bolster resilience to stress. Stress itself might be addressed directly, whether through meditation, therapy, or regular structured recovery periods. Tracking biomarkers can provide an early warning system, revealing shifts in testosterone, cortisol, glucose, or inflammation before they manifest in performance. And finally, avoiding chronic overwork cycles is essential. Recovery is just as critical for cognitive endurance as it is for athletic performance. Are you a health coach or running a health course and looking to level up your client's experience? With SiPhox Health's at-home blood test, you can deliver lab-quality blood work right to your client's door. Seamlessly ship samples back for fast and actionable results. Personalize every consult with the data that matters. Clients who complete a SiPhox test are 60% more likely to enroll in a paid program after their consult compared to those who only join a sales call. If you're ready to give your clients the edge, go to SiPhoxHealth.com/partner. And as a Silicon Fox podcast listener, enjoy 10% off your first bulk order. The SiPhox study offers a glimpse into the hidden biology of a startup life. Testosterone appears to rise alongside early-stage victories, peak with major milestones like Series B, and then drops as late-stage stress sets in, while cortisol moves in the opposite direction. Whether this is cause and effect or a complex feedback loop remains to be seen. For founders, the message is clear. Your ability to lead, make decisions, and sustain performance is tied to your physiology. If you want to survive the startup roller coaster intact, you need to treat your health with the same seriousness you treat your pitch deck. The future of entrepreneurial success may not just be shaped by market forces or product market fit, it may also be written in your blood chemistry. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you've gained some insight into this research report. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe and share it with others who might benefit. And as always, I encourage you to take charge of your health and be proactive about your body signals. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on the Silicon Fox podcast.